if Darren Olean says bruh one more time, I am going to lose it. Episode 2 of Down to Earth with Zac Efron. Episode France. Theme water. Positives of it was, number one, Anna Kendrick made a little appearance at the first section of it. Great. A ray of light upon this series. A beacon of hope, shall we say. She was great. I love Anna Kendrick. Would give my firstborn to her, perhaps. She's lovely. I love her. Second positive portion was the second segment when they were in Paris talking about how the importance of clean water being accessible to everyone. Amazing. Could not have asked for anything more. Yes, I could have. I'm just kidding. I have a lot of things to say about this episode. So the first thing was that the intro, I thought it was just going to be in episode 1, but it's actually the intro of it. It's like, hi, I'm Zac Efron and I'm down to earth, blah, blah, blah. And my co-host is Darren Olean. He wrote the book on wellness, and then they show his book, 5 Superfoods You Need in Your Life. That is the intro. So just a quick question about who's funding this project, and let's look critically at what information and the images that people are trying to portray themselves as. If this book is being so heavily promoted in this docuseries that's supposed to be helpful. Messy would be the theme word of this episode. Just messy. Please find a thesis. Find a thesis and stick with it. It was split into kind of 3 sections. First section, they were in LA for some reason. They spent 15 minutes of the 40-minute episode not in France. First section was in LA. They were at some bougie water place with a water sommelier, tasting and testing different waters from all over the world, talking about the mineral content and how, essentially saying water is really important for the human body. Thank you. Yes. But tasting like all these different waters from different places around the world. Segment 2 was in Paris, and they were talking with the chief, or I guess the mayor, I forget what her title is, but she's like the head of the water accessibility, water distribution in Paris, the city of Paris, and talking about how they have all these different free water stations where it's purified and it's clean and it's accessible to everyone and it's always there. And they were talking about how this reduces, this is great for the wellness of the habitants, for the wellness of tourists that come in, as well as how much it's reduced plastic water bottle consumption. Amazing. Segment 3, they went to Lourdes, France, and we're talking with the chief medical officer there, as well as the head priest, I believe. And it's a holy site based around this spring where people go to drink the water or bathe in the water, and have claimed, or I guess, and there's proof that they've shown that people have overcome illnesses. So that was cool. However, the 3 segments were not connected. It was messy. As far as the first and the second segment go, like the first segment they were talking about, it was kind of like, they were kind of implying that you can't trust tap water, and like, you have to look on your bottled water, you have to look for mineralized or spring water and not go for filtered or purified, because that means they take out all the important minerals in them. It was weird, like very bougie, like very not accessible for a lot of people, where people depend on tap water. I can't remember if they actually said tap water is bad, but it was kind of implied, which felt like weird. And that contrasting with like the second section when they made such a big deal about like, yeah, this is important. You need to have clean water for everyone. Well, it is a big deal. Sorry. Like, yes, it's important. And then Darren actually said, like, we need to bring this to the US. This is important to have clean water for everyone. I like don't understand why in the first segment you wouldn't spend your time in the States going to somewhere like Flint, Michigan, or other areas that don't have access to clean water, where it's beyond their control. Like, I don't understand why you wouldn't do that if you're going to lead into that with the second segment, and instead go to like some place that none of us can probably afford to even get into, this water sommelier's place, to drink water that has been specifically flown in for you from Slovenia, or like wherever they got this fancy mineralized water. But then that was contrasted with like saying in the second segment, we like, no, we don't want plastic water bottles, like bottled water is bad, we want local water, we want our own systems. The contrast of it was so strange and really unrelatable, really like disconnected to what's actually happening in the world. And then the third section related to the first 2 sections. The first 2 sections were like, yes, we need clean, accessible water. Water is important. Water is important to drink. Blah, blah, blah. Third section, interesting. Super, like, I understand what they were saying that like water acts as a like brings people together. Water is important for many reasons, you know, wellness, to drink it, but also spiritually, like from like many different points. I totally understand what they were getting at, but they did not explicitly say that. And that's like rule number one of a good thesis, is you gotta say what, you gotta lead your reader to water, you know, you got, pun intended, you gotta like lead your reader to what you're trying to say. You can't just kind of like put it out there and let them interpret. They kind of just like, first of all, they insulted the chief medical officer there, which was just weird. It was a weird segment, and it came across as they were keeping him for comedy, because they don't, obviously, as discussed in episode 1 review, they don't have any comedic, they're not funny people, they have no comedic like bounce off of each other. So it just seemed like they were first of all, they insulted the chief medical officer, and they kept that in for some reason. That made it through their cut for some reason, about them insulting and like ending it with saying, oh, he's actually a really nice guy. They get to this like last place, and they just did not link it to like the whole, like they didn't end by saying water's important. They didn't say water's important for spiritual, physical, like they didn't really say that. They just ended with a montage of Zac Efron talking about the importance of meditation and prayer, which it is, yes. However, that could be a whole separate episode. You didn't link it to the importance of accessible water to everyone. There was no linkage. The last sentence was, we're all here on one earth. Let's make it last. That's the most vague sentence I've ever heard. Like, what are you saying? Like, I don't, just like, obviously, like, no shit. Like, so what are you saying? Like, how does that even link to the first 2 segments? Like, it just made no sense. It was a messy episode altogether. It was also just like kind of boring to watch. It was just so like, it just like took a while for them to even like get to what they were trying to say. Like, there was one segment where they made it through the channel from England to France, and Darren had to go, they were feeling, you know, jet lagged or whatever, so Darren had to stop the car and go feel the ground and ground himself with the earth. And I totally understand that when you're like jet lagged, you just need to like reset, but they just presented it as like, oh, Darren's just being his LA self, oh, he's such a hippie. And they get out there and they're like feeling the ground, and then they pop in this like actual things that actually happen, like facts about circadian rhythms and facts about actually needing to reset, and like just like such a strange contrast between like, oh, this is all like funny, and oh, it's just Darren being Darren, and then like actually supporting it with scientific information. Yeah, that's kind of like my whole issue with this whole show, is that I said in my earlier video about how I was concerned that Zac Efron would do for sustainability what Gwyneth Paltrow has done for natural medicine, by making Goop. This is what I was worried about, was that he's gonna, or not just him, the production team, this whole down to earth production is gonna make like a farce of sustainability and meddle the information and not actually present information that's true and valid and real and happening, and just kind of like mixing it in with whatever is happening. And that's kind of what's that is what's happening. They're mixing in real facts with like whatever they feel. And I would understand if this was just, I'd understand if this was different and this was just like, oh, 2 guys from LA with a video camera going about looking at different things. That would be totally different, but it's not. It's a production. They have a production team with them. They've called ahead. They're going to different places. They're presenting facts. They're presenting montages. They're like doing voiceovers of actual facts that are happening. It's confusing, and it's just not vibing with my heart right now. I'm not feeling that vibe from this show. It's just a lot. Anyway, I would love to say I'm optimistic for the next episode, but I'm not super optimistic. I'm sure it'll be great. It'll be great. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this review, and by review I mean a little mini rage about my issues with the show. But yeah, so that was episode 2. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you are staying safe, and that your family's staying safe, and that you are well, and that your families and friends are well. And yeah, that's all. Okay, bye.